So for a couple of minutes, for some reason, I forgot to start a new video. So I'm going to repeat this quickly for the recording. So this is a rational equation because it has x in the denominator. First thing I did, I moved 1/5 to the other side, changing its sign. And then the analysis was a refresher. The square root of x requires x to be greater than or equal to 0. The cube root of x, no restrictions, friendly, very nice. But now the problem with 1/x is that the denominator cannot be 0. Any number, not 0, any number but over 0 is called undefined. Fancy word saying it does not exist. Good. So I have to write the restriction here, x cannot be 0. Can anyone tell us, this is a different denominator. Here, x plus 2 cannot equal 0. So what x cannot equal for the second portion, for the second fraction? What is the value of x that cannot be accepted?
-2.
Excellent. Excellent. Perfect. Now, I draw a long fraction line. I copy the equal symbol, and I copy 0, because I don't want to forget. So this was a side, these were side comments. Good. I have this denominator, I have this denominator, and I have this denominator. Can anyone tell us what is the least common denominator? This has nothing in common with this. They don't have common factors. This has no common factors. This has no common factors. What will be the least common denominator then? Not different from this. It's just that now it has variables. Same idea. Can anyone give it a shot?
Would x be the least common?
So there are no common factors. This has no common factors with this, and this has no. Say it again. Give it a shot. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. No common factors. None whatsoever. So what will be the least common denominator? I covered them up. I covered them up. I just want you to say it must be the. You don't even see them. They have nothing in common. So what could be the least common denominator then?
Is it 10?
So let's take a look. If I want to add 1/2 to 1/3, they have nothing in common. What will be the least common denominator? When they have no common factors.
6?
Exactly. That's why I covered them up, just to give you a hint. What are they? What is the least common denominator? The what? What word am I looking for? You cannot even read them, you don't see them. You just have to say
The variable?
the product of those three. The product. So it's 5x, x plus 2. It's the product of those three. Exactly how we can determine the product of these two, because they have nothing in common, no common factors. I have three denominators with no common factors. It is a must to have all of them in the least common denominator as a product. Now, this was multiplied by what to get this? What did we multiply x by to get this?
5.
Not only 5.
5 times 1.
5 times
5 times 1 or 5 times x.
So there are 3 factors. I only have 1. I'm missing the other 2 factors. What are they? I covered it up. So what are the factors that I multiplied x by to get this? I have 3 factors. I multiplied this factor by 2 other factors. What are they? I only want you to say 5 times x plus 2, because this is what I have to do here. 5 times x plus 2. What did I multiply this factor by to get this as the common denominator, as the least common denominator? What will you say? Why would this multiplied by to get this? What do you think? This is here. So what was it multiplied by to get this? It's okay if you're wrong, but you can be. So what do you think? I have 3 factors. One of them is here. So what did I multiply this by to get this? Which factors?
X plus 2.
Which factors did I multiply this by to get this product? Anyone? You see that this is the same, right?
-1.
So these are the same. I covered it. What was this multiplied by to get this product? So something I'm not explaining clearly. You have to say 5x. This was multiplied by 5x to get this product. This was multiplied by 5 times x plus 2 to get this product. What did I multiply 5 to get this by? Five is here. What other factors did I multiply by? What will you say?
X and x plus 2.
Exactly. Exactly what it does not have. So this one did not have 5 and x plus 2. This one did not have 5x. And this one did not have x and x plus 2. So these are not fractions. These are just reminders telling me, don't forget, you multiplied x by 5 and x plus 2. You have to multiply the numerator by the same thing. Otherwise, you change the fraction. Then for the next one, I have x plus 2. But what did I multiply it by? 5x, 5 and x. That's why I have to multiply the numerator by 5x. Finally, for 5, what do I have? I have 5. So I multiplied 5 by the other 2 factors. I have to do the same thing to the top. It's the first problem. These are not easy situations. Rational equations are not easy. So now I distribute 5x plus 10 plus 5x. And minus 1 times x plus 2. I distribute x squared with minus in front and 2x with minus in front. Okay, let's recap. First, I moved 1/5 to the other side. And then I realized there are 3 different denominators. No common factors whatsoever. because they have nothing in common, the least common denominator has to have all of them, all three, 5, the x, and the x plus 2. Now I have to analyze what I did. I started with x, but all of a sudden I have this. Well, it means that I multiplied by 5 and x plus 2. I have to do the same thing to the top. I started with x plus 2. Okay, fine. Which means that I multiplied it by 5x. Well, I can't just multiply the denominator by 5x without doing the same thing to the top. It's not allowed. So I had to multiply the numerator by 5x. Now I have 5, which means that I multiplied it by these two factors, which means I have to multiply the numerator by the same factors. What do I do next? I distribute 5x plus 10 multiplied by 1 plus 5x multiplied by 1. Now here I have to be careful. X times x with minus in front. X times 2 with minus in front. Okay, fine. Now I have to combine like terms at the top. I start with negative x squared. Then I have positive 10x minus 2x, which is positive 8x, and plus 10, divided by 5x, x plus 2 equals 0, or 0 over 1 is the same thing. Okay, now what? So at this point, I need to explain something called proportion. What is a proportion? Before we continue, we haven't finished. So I'm going to make a side comment here. What is a proportion? A divided by B equals C over D. What does it mean? One fraction on the left-hand side, nothing else, not plus 1 or plus 2 or plus x or anything like that, nothing. Plain fraction on the left, equal symbol, plain fraction on the right. This is called a proportion. Why is it so important? Because in a proportion, I can cross multiply. Only in a proportion I can cross multiply. If this is true, then A times D equals B times C. So this implies that. So I got to a proportion. I have one fraction line, I have one equal symbol, and I have another fraction line on the other side. So only here now I can cross multiply. This times 1 is itself, but this times 0 is 0. So bear with me, it's almost done. So I'm going to copy it here so it's clear. So negative x squared plus 8x plus 10 divided by 5x plus 2 equals 0 over 1. It's a proportion. So now I'm going to cross multiply. This times this, negative x squared plus 8x plus 10 equals this times this, which is 0. So now this is quadratic. What do I do? Well, always, no one will force me to solve a quadratic equation with a negative leading coefficient. I refuse to. Well, which is very simple. I will multiply both sides by negative 1. So x squared minus 8x minus 10 equals 0. Now I have to solve this equation. Yes, I think we know how to solve this equation very straightforwardly. You can use the quadratic formula, or you can, at this point, I'll allow it because it's so much work. So use apps, go to number 9, enter. If it's factorable, don't ever do this because it's very easy. If it's factorable, just go ahead and factor it. So the leading coefficient is 1. The next coefficient is negative 8. So I did something wrong there. Okay, enter again. Okay, that's 1. The next one is -8. The next one, -10. And just give me the solution. Ugly. So there is one x, which is -1.1, and the other one 9.1. Now here I have to be very careful and just make sure that it's not 0 or -2. Those are not allowed. Are they 0 or -2? No, they're not. So this is it. These are the solutions. Any questions? It's a lot. It's a lot to absorb. This was a problem that was more complicated than we needed. So now let's look at these problems and work on rational equations. Determine whether the following statement is true or false. X squared minus 9 divided by 9 simplifies to this. We talked about this. I'm going to write it down, and I want your input. So in other words, they're asking us, can I simplify this 9 with this 9 by 9 and get 1 and 1, and then I have x squared minus 1. Am I allowed to do this or not?
Yes.
So remember what we said. We simplify only factors. This is not multiplied by something else. It's subtracted. Because it's subtracted, this is not a factor, but it's a term. For that reason, we can never simplify. We are only allowed to simplify factors. We cannot simplify. We can never simplify terms like that. So this is not allowed, cannot be simplified further. The expression can be rewritten as a factored form at the top, but we cannot simplify it in any way, shape, or form. Okay, a rational expression is the quotient of 2, and the answer is polynomials. Not like terms, not equivalent expressions, and not factors. So a polynomial at the top over a polynomial in the denominator is what we call a rational expression. A polynomial over a polynomial. So coming back here for a second, this is a rational expression. First of all, it has to have x in the denominator. A polynomial, it doesn't have to have x in the numerator, but it has a polynomial in the denominator. Same thing here. Rational, rational. This is not rational. This is linear. It doesn't have x in the denominator. Okay. So fill in the blank so that the resulting statement is true. Okay, let's see what they want. Simplify a rational expression by the numerator and the denominator completely, by factoring. Simplify a rational expression by factoring the numerator and the denominator completely. Not by multiplying, not by dividing, not by distributing, by factoring. Then divide the numerator and the denominator by any common factor or common factors. Not by number, not by variable, not by polynomial. So again, we simplify a rational expression by factoring the numerator and the denominator completely, and then we simplify the common factors. We divide the numerator and the denominator by the common factors as we did some time ago. Final numbers for which the rational expression is undefined. Very good. Good example. I'm on page 12. Final numbers for which so I have y plus 2 over y squared minus 4. Remember, the numerator can be 0. If the rational expression is defined for all real numbers, just state so. So what I need to do is take the denominator aside and completely factor it as they just told us a minute ago. Can anyone give us the factored form? That's why we studied factoring. Can anyone tell us how to factor the denominator? Again, that's the reason why we studied factoring. Can anyone give us the factored form of y squared minus 4?
Y plus 2
Excellent.
and y minus 2.
Excellent. So then we have two different y values that are not acceptable here, because obviously y squared minus 4 cannot be allowed to be 0. So what are the options? That's why we factored it, to make it easier on us to find the solutions, or the non-solutions, if you want, in a way. What are the values that we have to exclude? Can anyone give us the solutions? What are the values that y can never be?
-2 and +2.
Exactly. So, thank you so much. So, use a comma to separate answers. I will enter -2, comma 2. These are the type the values for which the rational expression is undefined. So the rational expression is undefined if y is -2 or 2. Okay. Simplify the rational expression. If the rational expression cannot be simplified, state so. Okay? So x plus 5 over x squared minus 2x minus 35. We were told we can simplify only if we factor everything. The numerator is factored. Can anyone give us the factored denominator, form of the denominator? Descending order, it's a trinomial. 1 is the leading coefficient, it's not a special product. We went through all those steps. What do I write? What is the factored form of x squared minus 2x minus 35?
X plus
I couldn't hear you.
x plus 2.
So the product is -35 and the sum is -2. We need two numbers whose product is -35 and whose sum is -2.
-7, +5.
Thank you very much. So then x cannot be and x cannot be. Before I simplify, I have to write the restrictions. X cannot be